Before we get started with today's video, I first want to thank our sponsor, House of Japa. More about them later. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Amber Rose, also known as the Religious Hippie. You can basically follow me on any social media platform, or you can go straight to my website at thereligioushippie.com. As you guys can tell by the title of this video is about dating.
I'm just a little out of your league. Whoa, is that mustard? Don't want to waste that bad boy.
This is probably the topic I get asked the most about in emails and DMs and just in general on questionnaires and stuff. Everybody has dating questions. And so I figured I'd do a few videos about dating, but for right now specifically, I want to talk about dating with intention. In today's culture, dating has really been kind of reduced to a casual hookup rather than a meaningful journey towards marriage. And as Catholics, we're called to approach relationships with the intention of marrying the person we date. And unfortunately, there are just a lot of people out there, even some Catholics, who are going to waste your time and drag you along on this wild goose chase. And so it's really important for you to date with intention and for other people to date with intention, but you can really only focus on yourself. So it's important that you don't become one of those people that becomes, Basically, we just want to avoid the forever girlfriend or the forever boyfriend situation, all right? That is just a waste of time. Get out of those relationships. These days, modern dating is just an absolute mess. I think it's criticized the most for being like a time waster because most people either just use it to hook up or they just become a forever girlfriend or boyfriend. Basically, people just treat relationships as though it's some sort of entertainment, but they never really want to commit any further than just that. Even though they buy a house together, they have animals together, they have cars together, even children together, but marriage is too much of a commitment. Anyways, the point is, too many people are afraid of commitment today, and it is so sad to see. The Catechism of the Catholic Church 1601 reminds us that marriage is a covenant by which a man and a woman establish a partnership of the whole life. We need to date with this goal in mind. I say we, I'm married, but the point, you guys need to date with this goal in mind. And honestly, with the intention of marriage, if you do have the goal of marrying this person, it offers a deeper connection you can have with this person as opposed to the other situation, which is more surface level. You don't want to get into any deep topics or any, feather ruffling topics.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
But if you are planning on marrying this person, you need to know those deep topics. You want to know what their idea of raising kids is. You want to know if they even want to have kids. You need to know what their stance on abortion is, what their politics are, what their, all of that stuff is really important. And so with the idea of marrying them and living with this person forever, literally till death do you part, it gives you incentive to have those deeper conversations and to learn more about the person and not just keep the relationship on a surface level. According to a 2019 study by the National Marriage Project, couples who discuss long-term goals early in their relationship are 40% more likely to report higher level of relationship satisfaction. So there you go. Talking about this stuff early on leads to a healthier relationship. Unless, of course, you guys don't agree and then it leads to no relationship, but it's fine. Now, there is one thing I do want to clear up. Dating with intentionality does not mean you're rushing into marriage or you're treating dating like some sort of checklist. We'll kind of get into those issues a little bit later on in this video, but you need to understand that intentionally dating someone means fostering respect in the relationship, communication, and most important, the pursuit of sainthood. Now, personally for me, I hate the term casual dating. It carries like such a negative connotation, but in the Catholic sense, it is important to build friendships, explore compatibility, and get to know someone without the immediate pressure of any type of commitment. So, for example, if you ask somebody out on a date, that doesn't automatically mean they're your boyfriend or girlfriend. Usually you have to go on 2 or more dates. I usually say about 3 dates with one person is where you should finally decide whether or not you want to make it exclusive and you guys are exclusively dating, boyfriend, girlfriend type of thing. And I want to state that the first few dates should be pressure-free, inexpensive, and fun. Get coffee, go to a museum, get lunch or go for a hike, etc. Dates that are too expensive can sometimes come off as love bombing depending on the woman, but again, a majority of women I have spoken to prefer more of a casual date on the first few dates as opposed to just something really fancy. Once you guys are more acquainted with each other and you guys officially become boyfriend, girlfriend, yes, fancy dates are wonderful, but when you're getting to know each other, casual dates are ideal. Now, if you've gotten past the first few dates and you guys decide to become official as Facebook likes to put it. Make sure that you're also agreeing and discussing on physical and emotional boundaries. These are so important in the beginning of a relationship. So you really want to avoid situations that may lead to temptation, such as being alone in secluded places. This could be like your car, your basement, bedrooms, whatever. Just make sure you both understand that there are boundaries here and neither of you are going to cross that boundary. Now, if you're a little bit afraid about setting boundaries because you've never really had to set them before in a relationship, maybe this is new, or maybe you're totally confident, it's up to you, but you could say something like this if you want to set a boundary. You could say, I value our relationship and I want to make sure we're both on the same page about insert specific boundary. Some other things you could talk about as the relationship gets more serious is how you both will strive to keep God at the center of your relationship. Are you guys going to attend mass together or separate? That also depends on if you guys are long distance or not. If you guys want me to do a video on long distance relationships, please let me know. I have a ton of friends who have made it work with their husbands through long distance, so I can ask them for advice and we can do a whole video about that. But just let me know in the comments below if you want that. And of course, how are you guys going to grow in your faith together, especially if you guys are long distance? Now, I cannot give you the answer to these things. You guys are going to have to figure that out for yourselves because I don't know you and everybody's a little bit different. So general advice doesn't really work when it comes to these situations. You have to put in the work and you guys have to have these discussions and decide what'll work best for you guys. How are you guys going to prioritize God in the relationship, etc. Make sure that you guys are also going to discuss difficult topics. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, difficult topics are what really deepen the relationship and really determine whether or not the person you are dating is marriage material. So make sure you're discussing important topics like how are you going to raise kids? How do you want to school them? What about vaxes? What about the faith? Are your political views different? Or if your political views are really important to you, is that a deal breaker if the other person doesn't share the same political views? What is their view on abortion and contraceptives? And I guess just as a whole, are their opinions in line with Catholic teaching? This also means you need to be educated in the faith, which gives you great incentive to learn more about the faith if you were poorly catechized. Now, I don't want you guys to get super excited and dump all of these questions on your boyfriend or girlfriend the first couple weeks of dating. You definitely want to get acquainted with each other a little bit more before dropping hard-hitting questions, but you also don't want to waste time. So don't wait until like 3 or 4 months to be talking about these types of topics. Maybe wait a couple weeks into the relationship, but after a month, you should be more comfortable with each other to be able to discuss these topics. Again, though, everybody's a little bit different, so take that advice with a grain of salt. If you feel like in this moment it's not the best time to be bringing these topics up, great. On the other hand, though, if you feel like time is just dragging on and you need to know the answer to these topics that are really near and dear to your heart, it's about time to bring those up. And if you can't bring those up, it might be a sign that the relationship is not leading towards marriage. Now, it's also really important to decide what are and aren't deal breakers for you. And I'm not talking about, oh, he needs curly hair or she needs hazel eyes. I'm talking about morals, about accountability, things of that nature. And if there are deal breakers, be ready to express that, which leads me to my next point. Do not waste each other's time, please. Dating should never ever be an excuse for selfishness or leading someone on. It's so easy to fall into the trap of believing that every date or every relationship must lead to marriage or it's a failure. But this mindset, honestly, it adds unnecessary pressure and detracts from the beauty of discernment. Each relationship will teach you something different about yourself, your faith, your trust in God, what you want in a partner. I hate the fact that I said partner, but I don't know what other word to say. Spouse. The point is that even relationships that don't end in marriage can be meaningful if approached with prayer and openness. Learning humility and patience and what qualities you want in a future spouse are really important. Proverbs 16:9 says, "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." We need to remain open to God's plan. This ensures that we aren't forcing relationships to fit our timeline, but instead we are discerning his will. If you find yourself clinging to a relationship that clearly is not going to work out, and I mean clearly, you need to let it go. Not only are you wasting time with the wrong person, but you are forcing them to waste time with you. Look, I had a relationship that I tried over and over and over and over again with, and for many years I knew deep down it wasn't going to work out. I knew it. I was in denial. That's the only way I can really put it. My friends saw it. I saw it, though I refused to actually see it. And the more tighter I held on to that relationship, the more painful it became. And honestly, part of me held on to that relationship because it was familiar, it was comfortable. Was it the most healthy relationship? Absolutely not. But I had been dating this person for many years, on and off. And so for me, it was something familiar. It was something I knew. I didn't know anything else outside of that relationship. And then, of course, another part of me was holding on because of pride, because I wanted to prove people wrong. I wanted to prove people that we would make it work, that this isn't what they think it is, that it is a good relationship. But it just wasn't. It really wasn't. And once I actually was able to admit to myself that the relationship was toxic and not going to work, I ended up breaking it off, and there was a huge weight lifted off of me because I knew it was for real this time. I wasn't going back. This was it. And then I met my husband. So while I didn't see it then, I can look back on that and see it now. And I think that's such a beautiful thing about perspective, is the fact that we have to look back to see how God has really impacted our lives and how he's led us. And was that a very difficult decision for me? Of course. It was the only comfortable thing I had ever known. Everything else was a void. But at the same time, I knew that staying in a toxic relationship was not what God wanted for me, and it's not what I wanted for me either. And when I stopped forcing the relationship to work, God was actually able to come in and take over. If you guys have made it this far into the video, comment panda. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Okay, so how do we date intentionally? Well, I kind of already went over some of the stuff that you can do earlier, obviously, but let's get into like 1, 2, 3, that type of thing. Number 1, pray for your future spouse daily. Daily prayer for your future spouse fosters a mindset of selflessness, and it prepares your heart for marriage. I also want to say, though, that you should be praying to become the person that your spouse deserves as well. I highly suggest personally doing the novena to Saint Anne. She is wonderful. She is the patron saint of finding spouses and all that stuff. So if you guys are looking for a spouse and you feel like you're ready and you're just not really sure where to find them or whatever, pray the novena to Saint Anne. Number 2, cultivate the virtue of patience. In a culture of instant gratification, dating with intentionality requires patience. So this is the perfect time to start cultivating the virtue of patience and also humility. And people ask how, and well, I mean, you can ask God to give you opportunities, but I have found that inflicting the opportunities on myself has helped as well. And what I mean by that is I get into the longer line at the grocery store. I'll stay in the slower lane of traffic. I'll wait for the girl I babysit to put her shoes on instead of doing it for her because it's quicker. Things like that. Number 3, talk to a priest. I highly suggest sharing your dating journey with a priest, a trusted priest, someone who knows you well. And if your priest doesn't know you very well, get to know your priest. I think that's really important. But priests can really offer us good guidance and perspective in our lives and things that we can work on to become better so that we can serve our future spouse well when they do come into our lives. And now a word from today's sponsor. All right, you guys, St. Valentine's Day is coming up fast, and now is the perfect time to find a meaningful, faith-filled Catholic gift for someone you love. Instead of the usual flowers and chocolates, why not give a gift that will inspire and deepen their relationship with Christ? If you're looking for a Catholic gift, look no further than House of Joppa. They offer beautifully crafted items that are designed to help you grow in your faith and bring the beauty of Catholicism into your home. From stunning crucifixes and rosaries to elegant home decor and candles, every piece is made with faith and devotion in mind. Whether you're shopping for your spouse, a family member, a friend, or even just treating yourself, House of Joppa has something special for everyone. Personally, I love their standing crucifix. It's such a powerful reminder of Christ's love and sacrifice. And their battle cry candle is absolutely amazing. It makes my office smell so good. Head over to their website and find the perfect gift today. You can check out the link in the show notes or visit houseofjoppa.com. That's houseofjoppa.com. Number 4, spiritual discernment is key here. Make sure that you are frequently receiving the sacraments, especially confession and the Eucharist. Make sure you are growing in your faith for yourself and God, not because you want someone to see how holy you are. I have seen this so many times. So many of my girlfriends have gone on dates with guys who looked to be very holy, who went to daily mass, went to confession, etc., just to find out that it was just all a ruse and they don't actually take their faith that seriously. And It was just kind of a whole thing to get them interested. And they were devastated, to say the least. So don't be like that. Don't do that. I've heard it also happening to guys. Girls will do that to guys as well. But I mean, I've mainly just heard it from my girlfriends, so just don't do that. It's really manipulative, and you should not be using your faith as a lure for dating. I also want to include some questions here that I think would be really good for you to ask yourself before dating intentionally. It's really important to be honest with yourself and to have humility when answering these. So, have I worked through past wounds, addictions, or baggage that might affect a relationship? This could be addictions to pornography, nicotine, alcohol, drugs, anything. None of this stuff should continuously be going on in your life when you are seeking out a spouse. I think it's a lot different if you've overcome these struggles and just deal with the adverse effects from them now. You do need to be open about that with the person you're dating because those things can affect a relationship and a marriage. Number 2, do I feel called to marriage and am I open to discerning this through dating? I know too many people who literally just treat dating like a checklist. They go into a date and as soon as they say something that doesn't line up with what they believe or what they want, it's just game over. And I do think there is something to be said about having standards and things like that, but there is such a thing as also being too picky or going into it with the wrong mindset. You want to get to know the person. You don't want to treat this like a checklist. So make sure you leave the checklist at home, know what your standards are and what your deal breakers are, but also get to know the person. Who knows how strong they really are on certain opinions, and they might be willing to change their mind through some genuine conversation. You never know. Number 3, am I prepared to engage in open and respectful dialogue about my morals and beliefs regarding politics, raising kids, no sex before marriage, etc. Number 4, am I actively pursuing my relationship with God? Number 5, how do I envision raising children in the faith? Now, here's some questions to ask when you are dating someone intentionally. Are they actively pursuing their relationship with God? Would I want them raising children with me? Are we both striving to put God at the center of our relationship? Do we enjoy spending time together and share common interests? Are we intentional about chastity and guarding each other's purity? And then here's some extra questions you can ask them if you feel comfortable or you feel compelled to ask them. I want to specify that these are in no specific order, so pick and choose which ones you want. I won't be heartbroken if you're like, yeah, these questions aren't really for me anyways, but you know. Number 1, how do you handle conflict with family or friends? What's an area in your life where you're currently striving to grow? Who are your favorite saints and why? What's your perspective on family roles and responsibilities? What are your short-term, long-term plans? What are your short-term, long-term goals? Where do you see yourself living and what kind of lifestyle do you envision? What's the most important lesson you've learned about love? What boundaries are important to you? What are your spending habits like? What has your journey with Christ looked like? I also want to mention some red flags and some green flags in here for you guys. I don't want you guys to go into dates looking specifically for red flags or green flags in a relationship, so don't be paranoid about it, but I do want to give you guys these tips in case there are any prominent red flags that you can watch out for. The first red flag is a lack of respect for boundaries. If they're consistently disregarding your physical, emotional, or spiritual boundaries, it's a major concern. Respect is foundational in any healthy relationship, and if they're constantly pushing past that, constantly going back on the boundaries that you have set, and just pushing you away from God, that is a red flag, not good. Number 2, if they are dishonest. The biggest thing that I feel like this comes to is like lies, half-truths, or hiding aspects of their life, whether that's like a past relationship or habits. What this signals to me is just a lack of trust and a lack of transparency. And you want to be able to trust the person that you're dating and who will eventually be your future spouse. Number 3, controlling behavior. This could look like trying to control how you dress, who you talk to, where you go. This is just a huge sign of insecurity and manipulation. I want to say this is for both men and women. Women have done this to men as well. I've seen women who do this to their boyfriends. It's a major ick, major red flag. So guys, please do not tolerate that from women. But I also want to state that for women and men, this is completely different from choosing to wear a certain style or changing the way you dress for the person you love because you love them and because they like a certain way you dress. They're not forcing or manipulating you to do it. You just want to dress the way they like. That is completely different. I do that all the time. Number 4, disrespecting others. I would say try and watch how they treat their family, how they treat strangers, how they treat waitresses, etc. Disrespectful behavior, it may eventually be directed at you. And so that's something you need to keep an eye out for. And something people used to say is watch how they treat their mom or dad. And they usually say that's a good indication of how they'll treat you. I don't know if I fully buy this since everyone's relationship is different with their parents. But if they are being disrespectful towards their parents, there's nothing stopping them from being disrespectful towards you when you guys get married. Or while you're dating, even. Number 5, lukewarm faith and inconsistent values. So this looks like them not actively pursuing their relationship with God or their moral values conflicting with yours. It can lead to just a lot of struggles, a lot of problems later on. And so it's important to get those out of the way. And if they say one thing, but their actions prove another, go based off the actions, not what they say. Actions speak louder than words, people. Number 6, poor conflict resolution. Now, I know that some people just genuinely don't have good conflict resolution, right? It's something that they need to learn. It's not always a deal breaker, not always a red flag, but you do need to be able to have these types of discussions without it becoming super aggressive, right? So if these arguments keep escalating, if they refuse to communicate, they resort to passive aggressiveness, this just all makes resolving disagreements impossible. And it allows resentment to build up. It's not healthy whatsoever. That is a big red flag. It's different if they just need time to think and they're just like, hey, I just need a minute. I need to go for a walk. I need to breathe. That's healthy. But if they're giving you the silent treatment, if they're being passive aggressive, that's not great. Number 7 is jealousy and possessiveness. Extreme jealousy or possessive behavior shows insecurity, and that can escalate to emotional manipulation. So that is one you just do not want to mess with. Get out of that relationship ASAP. Number 8 is addictions or unresolved baggage. Basically, if they're unwilling to address addictions, trauma, or unresolved past issues, this can weigh heavily on your relationship. It's really important that they can forgive and move on. And even if stuff has been very difficult, that they try to work on themselves. Okay, and now for the green flags. Number 1 is mutual respect. They respect your opinions, your boundaries, your autonomy, even when they disagree. Now, this doesn't mean that they agree with everything you say, like, oh yes, of course, whatever you say, like, you are the queen, you are the king, I know nothing, I'm so dumb. No, it just means that they can remain respectful, even when they disagree with you. 2, open and honest communication. They should be able to be open with you about their feelings, about their struggles and faith, and they should be able to encourage you to do the same. It shouldn't be one-sided. One should not be emotionally turbulent or an emotional vampire. You guys should be able to equally talk about your problems and struggles together, find maybe a solution, or at least comfort each other in those problems. I would say this only becomes difficult or potentially an orange or red flag if they are seeming to constantly emotionally manipulate you because they're like, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me, and they expect you to constantly be there for them. This can be really toxic when it's the guy who's being like, oh, poor me, like pick me guy or whatever, and the woman is expected to consistently just like kind of mother him in a way. That is disordered. That is not okay. It's okay for guys to cry. It's okay for guys to have emotions. But the issue is when they start acting more feminine and it just, not the vibe. Not that women should do that either, but I mean, we're women. We're emotional. Sue us. Number 3, they live out their faith and their values. So basically, they actively live out their Catholic faith and they align with the church's views on important issues like chastity, marriage, and family life. Number 4, they have a consistent character. Basically, they are the same person in private as they are in public. There's no double life. He doesn't treat you like a dude when he's around his bros. I hate that I said that. That is oof. The way that he treats you when you guys are alone is the same way he should treat you guys when you guys are in public. Number 5, humility and willingness to grow. These are people who can recognize their flaws, point them out, realize that they need to work on themselves, and actually do put in the work. They don't just complain about it. They're like, oh, I need to do this, or oh, I need to be more humble, or I need to be less prideful, whatever. They actually recognize it, they actually put in the work, and they do the hard work. And that could be spiritually, mentally, or physically. Number 6 is that they're supportive and encouraging. They should inspire you to grow closer to God. They should inspire you to achieve your goals and to uphold your values without jealousy or any kind of resentment. If you succeed in something, they should be cheering you on from the sidelines. Number 7, family oriented. I think it's important for them to have a good relationship with their family if possible. And of course, the fact that they need to value the idea of building a strong, faith-filled family with you. Now, it's not always possible for them to have a good relationship with their family. That's just, it's not always the case. But if they do have a good relationship with their family, that's a really great green flag. Just because they don't have a good relationship with their family doesn't mean it's a red flag. It just means you need to understand that they might have a few issues in their image of what family looks like. Not all of the time, of course. Some people really do know what a good family looks like and wants to achieve that, but it is something you will have to kind of look out for. And number 8, they are joyful and content. While I don't think this is probably the most important green flag, I think it is important because they should have a positive outlook on life and find joy in their relationship with God and with others, kind of just making, their presence uplifting and enjoyable. Not that that's a deal breaker at all, but I do think it definitely helps when they kind of have like that pureness of heart about them and they're always excited and they're joyful. It's really nice. I mean, it's just crazy to me because dating with intentionality really is countercultural and offers a deeper meaning to relationships that hookup culture just does not have. So if you want to date intentionally, you need to keep marriage at the forefront of your mind. Setting those important boundaries, trusting in God's plan. Dating isn't about finding quote unquote the one. It's about becoming the person that God created you to be and trusting that He will guide you towards the spouse who will help you reach heaven. So I invite you to sit down, write out the boundaries that are most important to you. What are deal breakers? What are some standards that you have for the person who you want to be your spouse? Again, these should not be unrealistic. Like, oh, he needs to be 6'7" or she needs to have like tan skin. I don't know. What are some non-negotiables for you when dating? Figure out what those are, and this will definitely help you date more intentionally. All right, guys, with all of that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye!